This podcast is brought to you by the North East BIC, thanks to funding from the Durham Social Boost Project provided via DCMS, helping social enterprises grow, supporting local businesses and driving innovation across our community. Thanks. Hi and welcome back to the Good Eggs podcast. My name's Anthony McDermott and we are once again in Diego's Joint CIC right here in Sunnyside, Sunderland. Today we're going to be joined by the fantastic Emma and Rich from the Sugar Bowl CIC. So, let's go and meet them. Well, welcome to the Good Eggs podcast. Obviously the reason we invited you along is because you guys are good eggs, doing great work amongst the community and hoping to do even more. So the idea with the podcast is we're just going to have a bit of a chat, find out a little bit about yourselves, find out about your journeys, how you came to be one, find out about the organisation, and then find out what's happening next. How does that sound?
Sweet.
Good stuff. Right, who shall I start with then? Emma or Rich, who wants to go first?
You pick.
Emma, I'm going to go with you. As soon as you said
Right choice.
Well volunteered. So, take me back to the start then, Emma. Whereabouts were you born? Whereabouts are you from initially?
Oh, born. I was born down in Hartlepool.
Oh, really? Okay. Monkey hanger. Is that a really offensive term, by the way? I'm not actually sure.
I'm not really from Hartlepool.
Right.
Born there, but not
You'll
from
know
there.
the comments.
I was going to say, yeah. When we get axed, they'll be like, all right, cancelled.
But yeah, from Wingate originally.
Wingate,
Grew
okay.
up in Wingate, yeah.
Good. And did you go to school in Wingate?
Yes.
Great.
Wellfield Comprehensive.
Okay, great.
Celebrating 95 years on the 22nd of March, if anyone wants to go along.
Well, there's a shout out for you. Are you going, by the way? Are you going back?
Unfortunately, we're at a gig elsewhere.
Okay.
I can't make it myself.
Are you gig goers, yeah?
Musician.
Okay, great. Well, you can tell me a little bit about that a little bit later on. Great. So you went to that school, and then what did you plan on doing when you were at school?
Oh, goodness. When I was at school, I always said I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, considered the police force, different things like that. But always said what I didn't want to do was to be sat behind a computer in an office, kind of 5 days a week, and that's exactly where I ended. Circumstance meant went where the money was.
Life happens, doesn't it?
Life definitely happens. Yeah.
So you left school. What was your kind of first job?
Private sector.
Okay.
Haulage yard.
Okay.
17/18-year-old girl.
Yeah.
With a lot of
That must have been tough.
lorry drivers and forklift drivers.
Okay.
Yeah, that was an experience. It kind of definitely made me mature very quickly.
I can imagine you either go with the flow and kind of take it on the chin a little bit, or you get swept along.
Yeah, it was very old school as well.
Okay. Say no more, eh? Because there'll be lawsuits all over the place. No, happy days. Okay, and then so you did that for a little while, and then how did your business journey kind of progress, or your work journey, I suppose?
Yeah, so very different. So outside of the CIC, which is our new kind of social enterprise at the moment, it's very much been working across the private and public sector, doing project management, hence the computers.
And is that what you do now? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
So. Dabble in kind of all bits of work.
Okay.
Business support I was involved in for a little while, so that was quite interesting. And that has helped actually, just that little bit of knowledge that I've got in kind of when we're working with organisations like the BIC or the AP, different kind of parts of the network. I've got a little bit of knowledge that helps me know who deals with what. So that's
where to go to, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
Coming to you then, Rich. Where did you start off then? Where were you kind of born and raised?
Durham. I was actually born in Durham.
Durham City, yeah?
In hospital in Durham. And then I've lived in Coxer pretty much all my life. Right. In fact, I live next door to the house that I grew up in.
Really? Wow, okay. That must be probably not strange for you.
No, wait, it's my brother who lives next door.
Right.
So he lives in the house. I live next door, so it's great.
I was going to say, do you get on with your neighbours then?
It's cracking. I can play me music as loud as I want, anytime, day or night.
I love that. So what about yourself? School in Durham as well, yeah?
Yeah, I was, initially it was at Lansdowne at Boburn.
Okay, yeah.
And then when that closed, I ended up going to Durham Johnson.
Right.
And then I ended up coming to Sunderland, doing degree up here for 4 years. And then after that, we with my brother, I started the band.
Great.
And that's what I've been doing ever since. So that was, 1993?
Really, wow.
So that's
Tell me about the band then.
30 years.
What sort of music do you do?
1950s rock and roll R&B.
Love that.
So yeah, we've
rock and roll R&B, right? That sounds quite a mixture, but I kind of get it.
Yeah,
it's a bit Elvis-y type.
Yeah, basically, yeah. But also the black artists as well.
Love
so
that.
you've got people like Big Joe Turner and Wynonna Harris and people who, in essence, inspired Elvis.
Love that. Do you do original stuff, or is it lots of
No,
covers?
well, we do, but it's mainly covers. Yeah. But it's one of those ones where you might not necessarily. We don't class ourselves as being necessarily a covers band, where it's exactly what it is you take a song and you kind of put your own twist on it, really, a little bit. So.
And you're still doing that now, yeah?
Yeah, that's what we're still doing now. Yeah, 30 years later. So,
so you must have a bit of a following.
Yeah, we travel all around like the country, around Europe, and beyond as well over the years. So.
What's the name of the band?
Revolutionaires.
Okay. Yeah. Are you gigging anywhere up here in the near future? Give yourself a little plug.
Yeah, we're gigging this weekend, but. We are, but it's down great. Yeah, man.
You're the Cleedon on Sunday.
Aye, we're at Cleedon on Sunday. Yeah. That's right, we are. Yeah, well done.
What's it like life in a band? I mean, I go and watch a lot of music. I love music. I'm probably at 2 or 3 gigs a week. Literally, I'm pretty serious for it. Yeah. I love it, and I always look at bands, and I just think it's almost a thankless task in some regards. I'm guessing it must be a really tough life that. I don't know, is it particularly lucrative? I don't really know, to be honest. No. Yeah, that's what I thought, to be honest. But I didn't want to say it.
Not massively.
No.
But it's obviously we've made enough because in essence we've run it as a business,
right?
As opposed to just like have a good time and get drunk.
Where do you make your money from? Is it the merch? Is it the music? Or is it the venue? I don't really.
In essence, it's a bit of all sorts. Right. But in essence, it's whoever books you. So it'll be the promoter or the venue.
Right. Okay. Right.
And then obviously. Merchandise can subsidise.
Yeah.
And if you play in a festival and they like you, then you can make a lot. Right. But sometimes you can hang your merch out and nobody's interested at all. So it's just
because I know from lots of the bands that are coming, like kind of up and coming bands that are kind of coming through. They talk about they go to the bigger venues and. People like City Hall, for example, will take 50% of their merch and things like that. It just crucifies them, doesn't it? The bigger venues. I mean, that must be pretty tough to be honest.
It can be if that's the case where you're playing a venue where they take, but most of the venues we play, that's not really that's not part of it.
And in terms of selling your music and things, I'm guessing your music's available on things like Spotify and things like that, is it? And
yeah. Well, to be honest, because of the nature of the music that we play, our audience as such they'll still buy CDs and vinyl.
I still have CDs. I've got loads of vinyl.
Absolutely.
I love vinyl.
Absolutely.
Bizarre kind of side story for you, but just speaking of vinyl randomly, just remembered there, I've got 3 copies of the Lathams' new album because I bought it on pre-release. Somebody else bought it for me on pre-release. Yeah. And then randomly I went into a shop the other day and forgot I had it twice already. So I've now got 3 copies of the Lathams' album, which is just ludicrous. So I've got lots of left vinyl. But I love vinyl and I've still got CDs for my car. And people get in my car and they go, why have you got CDs? And I'm like, thousands of them.
I'm not going to throw them away.
No, I'm not going to fling. And I kind of get away with it. I don't think I'm particularly old, but I think I kind of get away with downloading music and stuff. I just didn't like it. I want something hard. Do you know what I mean? But
it's like a hard copy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially if people go to a gig, especially like in essence the crowd who tend to come and see us. Yeah. It's almost like a memento.
Yeah.
So they come to see you, and then they walk away with something tangible in their hands, as opposed to necessarily maybe going where you can download it. That's probably more a younger audience, I'm guessing.
It's sad, though, isn't it, in a way that's kind of... I know vinyl's made a comeback, but it's sad that, everything's going digital, isn't it? Because people don't have that memento sort of thing, do they, And who wants to pay 30 quid for a T-shirt, do you know what I mean? It's a tough life for the minute.
Absolutely.
I think it's definitely... the signs of it kind of changing and circling back, though.
I think so.
Obviously... the popularity of vinyl and how kind of the prices have skyrocketed. The amount of record fairs that are popping up that are quite fun to attend, so definitely get yourselves along and have a dig around the crates and that. But there's definitely a kind of anti-Spotify movement going on, anti-streaming because of the money that artists are getting and things like that.
Books, isn't it? Books, Kindles appeared about, 15 years ago, Kindles popped up? Maybe less, maybe 10 years ago, I can't remember. And everybody had them, didn't they? Everybody rushed out and got one. Yeah. And now people are going, I don't want a Kindle, I want to go back to a book. I want to that sounds weird, but I want to smell a book and I want to feel a book.
Absolutely.
Completely preaching the converted.
Yeah.
Our house is full of them.
Yeah, same. I read a lot.
Piles of books.
Yeah. I've got a pile beside my bed that I'm just still trying to work my way through. And I'll do my little Goodreads because I could have a bit of the modern world. Do you know what I mean? But this whole digital thing, it's anyway, we digress. But okay, good. So you were doing that. Were you working as well, or was it just the band?
No,
or?
it was literally just straight.
Wow, so you must have been making a good living then, Rich.
It was, yeah. Well, to start with, it was actually a family business. Because
Right.
obviously we were pretty young.
Yeah.
So our young one was only 17,
Right.
and I was like 22. So basically, what happened was my mum and dad came on board,
Right.
and my mum became the manager, and my dad basically, because he's he's just like a roadie, because he's one of those blokes who can think laterally, and if something goes wrong with some gaffer tape.
I love that. Like,
and a screwdriver, and off you go. So it actually became a family-run business.
Funny enough, I went to see Tom Smith, a young lad from Sunderland recently.
Right, yeah.
He was supporting somebody in Leeds. I didn't actually know he was the support act. Anyway, I went there and I was chatting to a guy who was selling his merch, and he says, "Oh, I'm his dad." And I said, "All right, like, how's that like being on the road with him?" He says, "Oh," and he said the same thing. He said, "I basically do everything. I fix his car tyres, I do this, I book his hotels." Yeah. He said, "I do everything for him." Like, I was like, "All right."
Well, if you've got someone who you trust,
yeah.
Because it's just, especially if you're a young'un, and you have like a family or a core support that you trust implicitly, helps big time. Like, so.
And your mum and dad make the perfect like just duo, don't they? Like they really complement each other.
Yin and yang.
I love that though. So how did you two come together then? How long have you been together?
It was through the music.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so kind of like friendship groups through the scene.
You weren't a groupie or anything, or Emma? No,
I was dancing.
No, she thought we were crap.
Boo! Give us your number, boo!
So outside of work, I've been dancing since I was 11.
Right, great. What sort of dancing?
So initially, Grandma and Granddad took me line dancing.
Brilliant.
So into the country scene. But then had a weird, for my age, my mum said it was a weird fascination with 50s music.
Right.
So would constantly ask for songs that she'd never heard of, ask about artists who were on the television, like adverts, music on adverts. So she'd bought us the best rock and roll album in the world or something that got played like constantly on repeat to the point where Dad was shouting, "Oh, will you turn that off? I'm sick of hearing it," type thing. And anyway, the line is, my mum spoke to the lady in the fish shop who also liked rock and roll music, and the Dot Dunn, bless her, she's passed now. But yeah, she introduced me to a whole rock and roll scene in the northeast. So I was probably the only person under 35 going out dancing, and looking back, it is a bit bizarre, but actually I wouldn't swap it for the world. It opened my eyes to a whole different kind of live music scene. So with the country and the rock and roll from being very young, that was my kind of life on a weekend and during the week as well. So it was classes during the week, socialising on the weekend, and Rich's band would play, and then you and Ed would go out dancing sometimes when you weren't working as well, wouldn't you? So yeah.
How is the scene these days, just out of interest? Thriving, or is it struggling a bit, or...?
We can probably comment better on the rock and roll scene at the moment. So it goes through cycles in itself nationally. It kind of can go in popularity in the number of clubs and people attending. I think it's on a little bit of on the slow side at the moment, but I think that's maybe reflective of just cost of living and just life in general, basically.
Things spin, don't it? You know, like, so for example, Beyonce did that country album, and all of a sudden country's just gone through the roof again, hasn't it? It's which I'm guessing you guys have definitely seen, haven't you? So things come in cycles, don't they? It's funny enough, I was talking to someone the other day, just randomly, I was looking at the fashion, and I was like, I feel like I'm living in Stranger Things. You know, that everyone's just wearing kids are wearing 80s gear all over the place. I'm like, what's going on? Like, you know, not been long before shell suits are back in fashion. It just goes round and round.
Do you go to any vintage fair?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, reels and reels of fair shell suit.
So you two met, how long ago was that?
Yeah, I mean, we've been together about, 15 years?
Okay.
Sorry, it's one of those.
No, it's fine.
Just
you tell each other off later.
But I knew you before then.
Yeah.
In terms of being together as such. But I knew you kind of from the scene.
So, been together 15 years, married or? No. Any plans to? Going to break the news today like Rich, or? Because an exclusive.
All a big ploy.
I thought you were going to ask any controversial questions.
If you smash the egg, something's inside there for you, Emma. No, that's fine.
Far too busy.
Fine. Any kids? Any family?
Got 4 children between us.
Wow, brilliant. Okay.
Yeah. So
are they up or down, or? Not down.
Well, my daughter's living down Leeds. They're 22 and 23.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're down there, and Emma's got 2 lads.
Yeah. 17, 16.
So they're all near enough up, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Peace and quiet, about 5 year time, I'm guessing you're hoping for,
You can no longer drag them along to any music events or anything like that. They totally refuse to get on the dance floor.
Bless them. Okay, so tell me a little bit about how you came to be the Sugar Bowl. And so how long have you been how long have you had the idea for anyway?
Well, we've done kind of lots of work with different community venues and village halls and things like that.
So what sort of work?
So we're talking kind of like dance classes
and
social events, whether that was involving the band or whether we get involved in kind of like Coxer Village Hall was probably the first one that we did as a couple. We were both doing separate things before that, started running record hops and doing different venues, vintage fairs and things like that. Me and my friend Joy used to do that for a few years, which was great fun. But as far as kind of Rich and I working together, our local village hall, Coxer, beautiful hall, wasn't it? Absolutely, but it was a little bit in a state of disrepair at the time. We're talking quite a few years back now. And we went to have a look and instantly fell in love with this kind of huge hall with a sprung dance floor and the red velvet curtains and everything, and could totally see the beauty behind kind of the work that needed to be done. So we kind of came up with the idea like, we both dance, we both can share. People have been asking us to kind of, we don't consider ourselves as teachers, we just help people learn how to dance.
That's probably better for some people, though. You know, they don't want to be intimidated by a teacher who they foresee to be an expert. They want someone who's got a passion and a hobby.
It's less informal.
Yeah.
So we're trying to do it where it's almost like being taught by your mates.
Yeah, I love that.
As opposed to like a teacher student. It's just basically come in, relax, and we'll just show you a few moves, and then you just pick them up how you want to.
Love that. So that's where the idea came from then, yeah?
Well, originally it was going to be just a rock and roll night,
right,
with a time at the beginning for a few people to come along who'd asked us to show them a few moves.
I'm guessing the plan initially make a few quid. Was that kind of what you were looking
not
for?
Really.
Not really. No, okay, right.
It was all just basically wanting to
keep the movement going.
Just do it, and it was something because the village hall that Emma's on about is basically where my mum and dad used to go to hops and dances. So there was all sorts going on in terms of how it made us feel. Yeah. It's a really old-fashioned hall from, I don't know, is it the 20s, 30s? Or,
I can't remember.
Anyway, it's a proper, you don't think it from the outside. When you walk in, it's as if you transport it back. And because my mum and dad had been there, it was just great. And it was on its, I don't know whether, was it going to getting ready to be closed?
It was at risk of closure.
So they wanted people to go in and just get it used.
Do something.
Yeah. And that's basically what we did. But literally any money that was being made was just put straight back in, putting on bands or we bought stuff for it.
We made some contributions towards
towards
the
hall,
stage being relaid and blinds, anything that you could to kind of just improve the whole environment for everyone.
Put it back in the community, really. Yeah. In essence, really.
But it ended up being the classes became the main thing. Over the hops.
So at this point, what year are we talking about here? Is this kind of how long ago was
2012, 2013? Yeah.
Okay. So and the classes were what, 5 people, 100 people? What do they look like size wise? Relatively small.
It varied week to week, but we initially thought there might be half a dozen people, and in the very early days there was quite a huge demand. It was kind of like
it could have been 40, 50 people.
That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah. We weren't thinking that. We didn't think we'd be getting
Did you think, oh dear, what have we got ourselves into here? Like,
it was almost if there wasn't enough room on the floor to get it.
Squeeze it up. But it was good fun, wasn't it?
Good.
We really enjoyed it.
All the family got involved in all because all the families into the music and all. Right. So my aunties and my uncles were coming down and all. So it ended up being quite a family-based event, but also community. People were coming into the venue that they just hadn't either been in for years or didn't even really know. They just drive past it every day and go, it's the village hall, and not know anything about it.
Do you know what? I think in County Durham on the whole, there tends to be lots of buildings like that, lots of community places.
There is.
I was in one the other day in Peterlee, I can't remember the name now, and there was another one, it was an old miners' community hall, it had just been abandoned. I thought, this building's bloody beautiful. And they rented it out for like £7 an hour, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Missed that. Take that down.
But I was like, what are you doing? Like, you've got a beautiful building here, like, do something with it, like, because it's you just kind of go to waste. It's sad, isn't it? And lots of it's to do with the pits, obviously, we know that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's sad, but
just to touch on community venues, because if it's okay, totally.
Yeah, of course.
Just bring to attention that anyone from the Wingate area, the community centre, which is a rebuild of the old community centre, it's been around for a while,
Yeah.
is actually also at risk of closure at the moment, which is a really sad state of affairs, given that there's very little going on in some of these villages like Wingate at the moment. So like anyone around the area might want to go online.
Definitely. Is there any way they can go online to...
It's literally just come to light the last couple of days.
Okay. So Wingate Community Centre, yeah?
So Wingate Community Centre. So there's a local working group being established literally in 48 hours to try and look at how we can support kind of the team that are already working there and doing the best job that they can to make it go on. But obviously I think sometimes it takes a lot more people around the villages to get involved in bit of insight, bit of experience, bit of kind of just support in general.
But you know what? It's if you don't use it, you lose it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
People often think, that'll never happen. I mean, there's a great example in, I don't know how well you know Sunderland, but we had a leisure centre here years and years ago, Crochy Leisure Centre. People are still whinging about it now and going, but you were like, but none of you used it for 10 years, and then you want it back, but none of you went. So use it or you lose it. It's as simple as that, and that's a great shout out. And so Wingate Community Centre. If you want to get involved, go and take a look online, and you'll be able to find some information.
Mainly on Facebook at the moment. Like I say, it's really, really like fresh.
No, good. Okay, so you started that so that was 2012 time. How long did that run for? I'm guessing it's still running now, but how long did that kind of run for? Like, how was it building?
So the rock and roll dance classes and the hops and the events, like we did all days, bopping at the hop and boogie till midnight, didn't we? Just a couple of times a year. They ran kind of really pre-COVID. Like I think it wasn't necessarily because of COVID that we were looking to do other things. We were working full time. The 4 children were much younger then. We also had different projects that we were doing in a voluntary basis, school government, different things like that. So it was like, let's take a break, let's reassess like what we're going to do. Then COVID hit and then just everything went out the window. I'm pretty sure that's the same story for everybody.
Can you believe it was 5 years ago, pretty much last week or next week I think it is, when lockdown came in. 5 years ago. It's just a different world, isn't it? Can you believe it? I mean, how was, just fast forward a little bit, how was COVID for you? How did you find it? You know, was it a major challenge? Was some elements of it good? What was your kind of thoughts around it?
Well, for me, because I'm working from home anyway, around the children and different care responsibilities that I had. So for me, it was still full on. There was no change. The only change, actually, which made it a little bit more difficult was the homeschooling the children. Yeah. So the boys, my youngest was like, let's crack, like, straight away. Sit at the table, do a day's work in 2 hours and I'm done. Then I can go on the PlayStation and do it. So he had kind of the mentality that I would like to think I would have had as a child. And my oldest was like, talk Kevin the teenager about it. And literally would rather whinge and complain for 2 or 3 hours at the table rather than just do it. So that became a challenge. But it was probably more tricky for you, wasn't it?
Because you can't gig, can you?
But because we run it as a business, we got the grant size. So that was a lifeline, to be fair. Otherwise, because I know a lot, like other guys who were really struggling. So we were quite lucky on that one night, definitely.
You missed it, didn't you? In the sense of just playing and getting out and.
Did you do anything online or anything like that in the meantime?
I think a couple of things, but that wasn't really like.
No, it's not the same, is it?
It wasn't really me back that one. So
once you've done 5 Zoom bingos in a row, you get sick of it all. You know what I mean? We all did these things, didn't we? You know. But I mean, I just find it crazy that it was 5 years ago. Like it's just. It's funny because I was talking to somebody earlier and we were just talking about time being a precious commodity. And I think for me, and I don't know about you, but lockdown really made me think more about that, because you think, and I know tomorrow might never come, but you really realise that the world might be a different place tomorrow. And COVID really made me, and that's why I go to more gigs and things now, because I just think you've got to live your life. You really have, because you don't know what's around the corner. That was really pointy, wasn't it?
That comes with age, that might not be, that might have nothing to do with COVID. That might just be the clock.
So going back a little bit then, so we're kind of pre-COVID at the time, we're getting towards COVID, still kind of trickling along, growing, or just kind of just levelling out a little bit?
Like I say, for the rock and roll or the dance class that we do, we kind of paused on them to reevaluate, and then it wasn't until post-COVID we wanted to see how the land lay, and then obviously priorities were the band kind of getting back up and running, just seeing what the score was.
And I'd imagine post-COVID, it was a real resurgence, I'm guessing, in many ways. I bet it was great to get back out gigging. People really loved being out again, didn't they? There was a real. I remember that first year back, everybody was in everything, weren't they? It was just it was slow, wasn't it? A little to start with, but then there was just a feel good everywhere you went, wasn't it? I mean, did you feel that when you were on stage, or?
Well, with regards to the scene that way on, I don't think it's fully recovered.
Really? Right? Okay.
So we're not gigging as much now than what we maybe were before COVID.
Do you think that's because people have changed their interests, or do you think people just don't go out as much now? Or
I think it's a combination of all sorts, because in essence, a lot of the crowd were older crowd anyway in terms of rock and roll. Yeah. There are younger ones in it, but it's predominantly older. Well, either they've passed away or they've got older now and they're not bothered about going out. But also what you were just saying there about frame of mind, where sometimes people they've got used to not going out.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah,
I mean, don't get us wrong. It's not that every venue or every event is quiet. It's just there's not as many of them, at least for us. But we're still getting off. We enjoy it. But since COVID, it isn't the same, like as opposed to pre-COVID.
I think lots of things have changed as well, though, the way that people take in anything, not just music, but everything's gone screens. I mean, we were already on that pathway, but I think COVID really sped that up. I mean, without getting on my shoebox a little bit, but society is we're just so stuck in our screen. All of us, even people of certain ages and things, I think there's a real crisis in some ways. I think people... I kind of, to contradict myself a little bit, I think lots of people are just sitting at home now and watching their screens, and people, it's easy for them, isn't it? So I think there's a bit of that, which, there's still the big working from home argument, isn't there? And get back to work, and they're like, well, but I could do it at home, and it's a whole piece. But anyway, we digress. So, social enterprise, how did we get at this point then? So we were doing bits and pieces, you reassessed, and then how did the Sugar Bowl come about?
Well, it was a weird kind of combination. It often is, isn't it? Just like little signs, little kind of conversations you had. But a friend of ours, Mark, he runs a CIC as well, and he'd been doing it for a few years pre-COVID, and he was looking to expand. Him and his wife run that together really well. It's a dance school / music school over at Sherburn now. It used to be a ball band, didn't it?
Are you allowed to give them a plug?
Can we give them a plug?
Of course you can,
yeah. So I think it's the Poker School of Music and Dance.
Great.
So Mark and Steph and Hannah over there do an absolutely wonderful job with hundreds of children every year.
They're a kick as well, yeah?
They are.
Brilliant.
Yes, yeah. But Mark is just an absolute ray of sunshine, and he's always wanting to help us, and he can be so busy. And then he was kind of going, because we were talking about what we might do, and do we set another night up, and how we might manage that, etc. And Mark had said, you do realise what you do is exactly kind of what a KIC or a CIC, community interest company, is doing, in the sense of, you're working because you're really passionate, you're bringing people together, giving them opportunities, like just to exercise and to feel good about. And I was like, well, yeah, but we're doing it because we just want to do it type thing. We weren't necessarily even though we'd witnessed kind of really kind of positive outcomes, and people are always dead friendly, aren't they? Like, say, because of the informality of how we run them, and it's meant to be just, there's no pressure, come see what it's like, you don't have to stay, do you know what I mean? It was very relaxed all the time. And
it's non-judgmental. Because the scene can be a little bit judgmental.
A bit clicky maybe.
It can be a little bit, you haven't got the right clothes or the right...
I can imagine,
like
it's
every scene.
Any scene.
Every scene's like that.
Every scene like that. But you try to encourage it where, look, there's no judgment. So come in, wear what you want.
My uncle's he's into punk, and I've been a fair few. I mean, I'm kind of accepted now, I guess, but I wasn't for a while, because I went in a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, and I haven't got dungarees and that on, and they're looking at me like I'm just a bloke listening to some music, like. But so I totally get it. Yeah.
So we try to encourage it to be the people that feel relaxed and as if there's no judgment on.
So often people would come who'd never done rock and roll themselves, or they'd never seen a live band of kind of the 1950s, 60s Persuasion, kind of, oh my goodness, like eyes are opened, and I've not been out for like 3 years, and I'll come along. Or I'd never thought I would dance. I mean, a guy in the recent class that we had, he was a TED in the 70s, and he said, I didn't dare dance. Right. And then he did about 8 classes with us, the last 8 of the last session of the last project, and he was like, can't believe I've waited on this age to get up and dance. So it's not just about the exercise, it's about definite improvements in well-being, just that general mixing with other people. And of all ages as well. It's fabulous,
I
really.
Think you go back to COVID again, social isolation was a massive thing, wasn't it? People were just shoved behind closed doors, and maybe still are a little bit. So I think it's just getting out and speaking to people. It makes a massive difference, doesn't it? It really does.
Because even as kind of organisers of any event, it's kind of like, oh, it's dark, it's raining. The other week it was snowing. It was like the last day after a full day's work, kind of, oh my goodness, right, crack on. And then when you come back, there's always a bit of a glow, isn't there? In the sense of home as well. But like it is a feel good type of activity when you're doing it.
So social enterprise must have been relatively new to you. I'm guessing you were like, I mean, it's still now. It's you work in the sector, I work in the sector, and we love it, and it's everyone's great in that. But you go to the person on the street and you go social enterprise, and they'll go, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And they go, does that mean charity? And you're like, well, not really, but like we do good stuff, and it's still a little bit of a niche, really, isn't it? So how was it getting into that world? That must have been quite. I mean, obviously you've worked in the business support sector, so you had a little bit of knowledge, but was it an easy change, or was it quite challenging? Would you say?
I think it made you be a little bit more kind of thoughtful of the paperwork side of things, like the rules, the regulations, obviously making the formal application, which I just want to give a shout out to Judith Fowler here at the BIC. She was absolutely amazing helping us and guiding us through that process, and it made it a little bit less painful than what we thought it was going to be. But yeah, it's just making sure you've got all the paperwork, all the documentation, and not just going, all right, okay, let's go and have a good laugh. Let's go and get some people dancing on the dance floor here, and then thinking about actually, as a social enterprise, you do need to make it viable on a financial level as well, because so you've got to kind of you've got to put business heads on, and that's probably the thing that we've had to get our heads around most. Like, we need to actually make a little bit of a profit here to put in the bank to do something next time, whereas before it was like, okay, what does the hall need, or what does this band cost, or things like that. So you weren't really thinking about needing to make any money, where now it's like, if we're to be sustainable and to make a difference in the future, when you might not be able to fund an application, we need to make sure we've got those pounds and pennies in the bank ready to go for the next project or the next kind of event or activity.
And it's so good that you've got that thought process, it's because it is challenging out there, and the funding world is, as you well know, is getting more and more challenging every year. So that long-term plan is great. If you had a piece of advice to give to somebody looking to set up a social enterprise, what would that advice kind of look like?
Oh goodness, that's a good question. I mean, we obviously had Judith's advice, which was fabulous. So I would probably say go to the people in the know as well. I mean, there's lots of information online, YouTube videos with influencers and experienced people. So we did dabble with that as well, didn't we? Followed a few people who were talking about kind of how their experiences. I think just don't feel like you're alone. There's lots of support out there. That's really helpful. And what you find is probably a bit like me, that's why I get on, is like everyone wants to chat. Everyone wants to talk and share the kind of best practice or pitfalls. Mark was really good at that, wasn't he? He was kind of like, don't do this, do that, don't do that. And he was a really good guide.
Because that's like, there's also, in essence, from our point of view, or from my point of view, is be passionate about what it is that you're doing as well, because in essence, you if it's a business, then it needs to make some money, but you're not really in it to make money.
You're not going to be a millionaire.
I was going to say, it's like if you're passionate about it, then to a degree that should make it a little bit easier in terms of like the amount of commitment that you're willing to give to it, and then what Emma was saying about support, like a support network. Whether that's friends who've done it, or whether it's like a professional environment, so then you can bring your passion with the expertise of someone else to guide your passion and channel it.
I love that. And I think you alluded to it earlier, that lots of social enterprises like yourselves, it's a passion project, and you love it, and it's a hobby to many respects, and or an art. But in terms of a business brain, often people in this sector don't consider themselves as business people because they think, well, I love this and it's a hobby and we've been doing this and it's really good. But actually, it's really trying to find people who can guide you down that route, because ultimately you have to be that way, don't you? Totally get that.
You've got to believe in your product. I love what you're saying. I completely agree with that.
Oh, absolutely.
And if we could just give it a
because if you don't believe in it, if you don't believe in it, no one's going to believe in it.
We mentioned aunties and uncles before. I just want to give a shout out to Margaret and Kevin and Jackie and John and Kevin Jane as well. They've all been fabulous helps, as well as me mum, bless her.
Oh,
it's like they like volunteers. In essence, it's volunteers, isn't it? It's people who are helping you out.
They'll partner up with people dancing. They'll work the door. They'll sort the car park. They'll just be bring energy.
They'll just be good eggs.
Good eggs, absolutely.
I love that. We should name a podcast after that. Should we? Cracking me. No, I totally get that. I love that. So what would you say is the kind of the main reason you get out of bed with the social enterprise now? What would you say is the biggest passion driver for you? Is there a particular group of people that you enjoy working with, or what is it you like seeing within your organisation?
Yeah. Well, I think at the minute we've obviously the rock and roll project is kind of like complete in the project sense. We're still doing lots of rock and roll activities. Our current exercises, line dancing classes 3 times a week over in County Durham, but we're already looking to the future, and I think that's a big driver, especially for you, Rich, isn't it, in the sense of what comes next, the possibilities of what other types of events, whether that's a learning opportunity or a social, to get people in the mix as well. So what it could be, the potential of what we going to enjoy ourselves.
And I think you alluded to it earlier, you know, it's that feel good, isn't it? You go home at night and you realise you've actually done something that's good for somebody, you've taught somebody new, or somebody who's isolated, you've got them out of their bed or whatever.
It's connection.
It
can make, when you get back, because before you go out, say in the middle of winter, and you're a bit like, oh, look at this night, it's a miserable night, who's going to turn up, etc., etc. When you go out and you have that connection with people, but when you come back, you go, oh, I feel better than I did before I went out, and we've met people have enjoyed themselves, there's connection, there's interaction. So when you get back in, you've got this sense of well-being almost. So
love that.
So in essence, you can get that from it.
If we can give people the opportunity to try something that they've never done before, either because of a confidence issue or because simply opportunity in the rural areas, in those kind of ex-mining villages. That's what we talked about a bit, wasn't it?
We're really passionate because obviously with me dad and me granddad worked down the pit, right? And obviously I'm living like a Cox an hour there from Quarrytonell, so pit villages. So I feel really quite strongly about, especially the venues we've been talking about, the village halls around the local pit villages, about trying to, in essence, put events or classes or whatever on there for people who might not necessarily even think about going doing what we might hopefully look to do, because we've got lots of ideas. It's just obviously everything's got to fall in line, and it takes time, especially if you're working as well. So we've got lots of ideas, but in essence, one of them is to try and bring these events based around dance and music to local village halls, particularly in County Durham.
So if you've got a village hall in County Durham, get in touch, right? Which I guess brings me nicely really to, if people want to get involved with you guys, have you got a website? Tell us a little bit about that. How do people get in touch?
Yeah, we're on Facebook and Instagram at
Brilliant.
the moment. If you just search Sugar Bowl CIC.
Great.
On there, you should pick us up. Sugar Bowl Northeast, I think, is on Facebook. But
the official title.
The official.
But we don't walk around saying
no.
Sugar Bowl Northeast CIC.
That's a Sunday name.
And I'm guessing people can come along and just try it. And it's a comfortable, welcoming environment.
They drop in classes. You know what I mean? They can come in, if they try it once and that's enough for them, or they try it, they have to then go on holiday for a couple of weeks, they can just come back again. There's no
experience, no partner needed. Just pile in.
Yeehaws are optional.
No, great. Well, that gives us a lovely place to end, I think. Just one final thing to ask you both, really. So we've kind of cracked the top off the egg, we've scraped out the yolk inside, and then we've dug out your whole life stories in there. What would be the one thing that, if you could say anything to the world right now, if you could address the world right now, what would be the one thing you would like to share? One thing.
That's the worst question. That's so big. It's so big.
I don't know, just
because you've said lots of great things already.
I would just say enjoy yourselves while you can.
Oh, good. Yeah.
In a responsible way.
And go to a Revs gig and bang there.
Lovely. Well, Rich, you've been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming along.
Thank you.
The only thing left for me to do is present you with your very own good egg. So that's for you, Rich.
Are we throwing these at?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you for being good eggs.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.